there will be a moment, there has to be, where someone, some group of people comes out, takes a bow, and says, we thought we would never do this again. We just want to acknowledge this moment. We're back. Yeah. I see that happening. People want that to happen. And that's going to be a thing. That's going to be a thing of people rediscovering what it means to be present in that way. And, as a performer and as an audience, it's coming.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Kevin Corrigan is an actor. On perhaps the last beautiful day of 2020, he sat down with me outside on Roosevelt Island in New York City to talk about the work.
It's been 499 days since I last sat down with you.
499? Isn't that like a tax form or something?
Can you tell me something? A moment, an event, anything that has significantly affected your acting self, good or bad, since that last time we sat down?
490. Yeah, sure. I've had a lot happen, and a lot has gone down, in the world. No one is exempt, from world events and the impact of, the universal experience of the pandemic and the political,
yes,
everything. And then there's my own world. And, I started going into a twilight zone about 2 or 3 months before the pandemic.
Oh, yeah?
So by the time the coronavirus became national news, I remember, I'm sure everybody will remember where they were, or when you started hearing every other person on the street when you passed them, everyone's talking about this coronavirus. I remember getting home one night, from the city. It probably was the last time I went to the city for a while. And I was like, man, everyone. I walked, 12 blocks.
Yep.
And just every bit of crosstalk.
Yeah.
That sort of zeitgeist,
Yep.
Black Swan.
Yep. In the air.
Event.
But what was the Twilight Zone you were in right before? Like, what brought that on?
Well, my mother had my mother passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was the end of a 7-year thing with ovarian cancer, and it was to come to the end of that journey, 7-year cycle.
Yeah.
I mean, not everyone's cancer story lasts that long. I remember having that experience with my father, where people that he was sick with, or, people that we would meet who in the waiting rooms, of the chemo centers and radiation appointments, and, people that you'd start to see after a while. Hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, and, and then, you find out that person passed, and they had the same thing you had,
Mm-hmm.
So I was, I did have a sense of gaining extra like a few extra minutes and days and bits of time with my parents. Like they kind of bucked the odds.
Yeah.
But then until they couldn't anymore, and it was decisive. It was like a direct hit, a strike. I just happened to be there when it happened. I was 4 miles away from my mother's house on Marshallou Parkway, and I was working on Ray Donovan, and had a part that I really kind of enjoyed playing.
Yeah.
And that day, which was my last day of work, we'd already filmed my death scene. We got that out of the way. We had one other scene to get, and we filmed it in a bar on McLean Avenue in the Bronx. And then the base camp was in the parking lot of Yonkers Raceway. Well, now it's called Empire Casino, but it's Yonkers Raceway.
Wow.
From the Flamingo Kid.
Yeah.
So I took the bus down when I was wrapped from Central Avenue, or Yonkers Avenue rather, to Marshallou. Stopped in on my mother, and around 6 p.m. and then, by midnight she was having, she entered the, final stages, like and it was ambulance. She said, get, ambulance. It was a cage, 2-week cage, not a window of time, but like this cage. It was a very decisive moment in time, and there were times I felt like.
I gotta go back. I'll pay for that.
Which it's kind of in the lexicon now. People say, my life could be a Netflix series. If you only knew what my everyday life is like. It's
Yeah.
and I believe people when they say that.
Yes.
And it was a big ending of a perception of life. A perception of life that included my parents. It's like, it was over.
Yeah.
And it isn't over also.
Right. Right.
It's great. It's a great time in life in a lot of ways because information comes to you. There are a lot of other people who've been through the death of their parents or, drug or alcohol problems or any kind of problems. And they want to share what pieces of advice work for them, and I have a lot of, I'm sure we all do have friends in, recovery or treatment or we're in treatment ourselves. I was seeing talking to somebody professional for the 5 months leading up to my mother's passing, and that was invaluable. It turned out to be. It already was. It was already helping me a lot, and. But I had, maybe on some subconscious level, I realized it was preparing me for my mother's passing. Because it certainly did prepare me, and someone I know who recently lost a parent, was saying, describing the sense of suddenness, and I thought of the Roadrunner cartoon where he goes off the cliff and he's still running.
Yeah.
He doesn't know there's no ground beneath him. He doesn't know, and then then it becomes like he doesn't know. like I said, things come to you, imagery comes to you.
Yeah.
Like I kept thinking of the guy, Philippe Petit, crossing
Yeah.
the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
Those fallen towers.
Yeah.
The man who did the tight wire
The high
act.
wire. Yeah.
And I my relationship to art, which includes acting, to bring this back to acting, because maybe some people are wondering, what does this have to do with that? And it's got everything to do with it.
Yes.
It's a lot of, well, there's also, the social media aspect of things is, where else do you get the information? That's where I have people that I follow on Instagram, one or two accounts that there's a lot of like quotes from Marlon Brando, where I'm like, where does he get all this stuff?
Yeah.
James Grissom.
Yeah.
Or there's another account called Marlon Rhythms. It sounds strange, but it's like, is this Marlon posting this stuff? Because it's him, it's his words.
Yeah.
But I think she's getting it from James, actually. Whatever the case, the things that are coming to me through like Brando was quoted as saying that Stella Adler tried to tell him not to take things so literally, and he talks about memory being the first canvas upon which we throw our art, and that our memory is our art. And when we perform, we're recreating what we remember about this person we met or this event that impacted us, that we're using in the moment, not the scene, but the moment. And
that struck you. That hit you.
Sure did. I love that that he said that, and this is 20 years after his death, and he's still here, and the show must go on. There's another account I follow, common expressions that come from Shakespeare: fight fire with fire. And there's a list of 100 of these. Like, oh man, I didn't know that. You just start to know where things like that come from when you go through these very fundamental experiences, death. It's a fundamental thing. It can be a building block. And this whole thing about it, I'm segueing now to this thing about acting being something that's you're pretending to be someone else. I don't really agree with that. I don't care for the casual dispensing of that idea. Not that people aren't allowed to say it. It's just it just makes me aware of the limits of the conversation with whoever says that.
Yes.
And
the limited understanding that they have of what it's all about, right?
yes, if someone's going to say acting is just... Because actors say it too.
Yeah.
Someone I really love and respect just published that sentiment in a tongue-in-cheek way.
Mm-hmm. kind of like when people say, I lie for a living.
Yeah, right.
It's like, what?
Brando
the
said
exact
that.
opposite.
Brando said it. So, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember having a conversation with Steve Buscemi in front of an audience in Greenpoint in the bar, over the 8 bar. And we were talking about acting, and I said, well, this might be a kind of an esoteric, something that, just, and he goes, oh yeah, no, we should stop talking about this because, you people wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't want to get off track. I don't know what track we're on. I'll tell you this. I came to this interview really not knowing what I was going to talk about, and then thinking, I don't have anything to talk about.
Perfect.
I don't have anything to promote. I haven't been watching anything.
Yes.
And it's not that I don't care. It takes a lot to breathe it all in, to inhale all the content that's out there.
Yes.
Is I hope not, but it might be more than I can.
So it basically cancels it all out. Like if it's almost overwhelming, so you just don't do it at all. Is that what it is?
I did watch the show, 4 episodes of the show that you recommended to me.
Which was
About the one with Chloe in Italy, where she's a general or
Yes.
something.
yes. Let's talk about that guy, that kid.
That kid,
You're talking about We Are Who We Are.
we are who
Jack Dylan Grazer.
Jack Dylan Grazer.
I reached out to you because I couldn't wrap my arms around what this kid was doing. Because the first half of the first episode, I wanted to smack this kid. And I was totally not even aware it was a performance. I wanted to smack this young child, this teenager.
Well, it's funny because he smacked someone in the show.
I think that's the second episode. But by that time, I was like, oh my God. Halfway through the episode, I was like, oh my God, this is a performance. I embarrassingly was pulled out of this subjective thing. And then once I realized it was a performance, I was like, oh my God, this kid is doing something that I haven't seen something like this. I'm talking about, I'm seeing something new with the way this kid is doing this. It's almost like a non-performance. But what were you seeing? What made you want to keep watching?
Well, I think what you're describing is like a form of dissonance or dissonance.
Yeah.
His performance it's an act of rebellion, and put in that the context of his mother being a not only in the military,
Yeah.
but a high-ranking military official.
And he puts up with this.
Right.
Kid.
Perfectly cast, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that the scene, where they're in the kitchen.
Yes.
What was the line? I can't remember the line.
Oh yeah.
Thin slices.
Yes, that's.
Now I thought that and then he lets her have it.
Yeah.
And the volatility of the mother-son relationship is so compelling.
Yes.
Because Chloe is so grounded
Yes.
and holds that moment together like with such a constitution.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and it's great to know, wonderful to know that you can depend on an actor to hold it together that way, to hold the moment, to hold
You're so right, because anybody else would have sent it in another way that would have been really not as effective.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many levels of metaphorical significance to her in that moment, who she is. Like he's, she has to, put down this rebellion. She's the mother country. She's she's the mother.
Yeah.
And she can't have she can't overreact. I mean, she could, a lot of people do. That scene could have ended very differently.
That's right. You almost expect it. You almost, because we're conditioned to have that happen in the scene, for this to be a moment of punishment to the child, a comeuppance or something, what I mean?
Could have, that's right.
Yeah.
She's in a role that you typically,
disciplinarian
ascribe to a male. Right?
Yeah,
I
that's right.
suppose. And what would a male have done?
Right.
And, perhaps the moment wouldn't have been possible if it hadn't occurred between a mother and a son. Because she allowed him the space to do that, in her upbringing of him, left some leeway, some levity. They joke with each other, and it's kind of, it seems sick in a way, like how hot and cold that relationship runs, and like how volatile. What's wrong with that kid? What's wrong with him? But at the same time, he's a fabulous dresser, He's so expressive.
He's his
the
own
ways.
Person, That's what you start to realize, like.
And they're in Italy.
Yeah. At this weird like it's like America in Italy, because it's a base. Yeah. Such a weird setting.
It's like an American diaspora.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which
it's almost like they have malls in there and everything, like for the Americans.
Yeah, I can't say that I've seen that before in a film. Although I do think my mind goes to The Great Santini right now. Just trying to think of a comparison to a family in the military story like that.
Yes.
And I'm thinking about that movie a lot. I'm thinking about Duvall and Michael O'Keefe.
Oh yeah.
He that's a performance worth.
Yes, I want to revisit that.
Revisit.
I want, it was John Cazale's birthday. The next day I talked to Catherine Waterston. Out of nowhere, unprompted, she said, my favorite actor is John Cazale.
John Cazale.
And I was like, oh yeah. And then I wanted to see The Godfather Part II again. Right after this, I watched it again. That scene where Michael really finds out that Fredo is the one. Fredo says, oh yeah, Johnny Orzo brought me there. You know what I'm talking about. But this time, I remember, I thought, oh my God, the way this is set up, just staged. If it wasn't done with this much care, this scene wouldn't work, And it made me want to ask an actor, which I haven't had an opportunity yet. I'm asking you. This is a very important moment in this movie. Have you ever been on a set and a very important moment is about to be shot and you're in the scene, and the way it's staged is totally wrong?
Yeah.
And it could be better. I mean, it's not making sense logically, even. But it's almost like it's not your place start speaking up about this. I mean, you have a lot of stuff to do. Like, that's bad enough right now. You have to do your part here. Like, what does an actor do in a situation like that when you know it's not going to work right? When you know, what do you do in that situation?
Well, I'm remembering the scene now, and what I love about that scene is the way, John Cazale as Fredo has no idea that he has given himself up. He's on one side of the frame going, Johnny Ola brought me to this place, and on the other side of the frame...
He's not that far away. Michael is not that far away.
and you're like, oh, shit.
But if Michael was positioned differently, this would not be a classic scene.
Interesting. As I was thinking of the line, keep your friends close, your enemies closer.
Yeah.
That's his brother. And he's, he maybe on some level, Michael, he didn't plan to be there
Yes.
at that moment, but he had an overall plan.
Yes.
To keep an eye on Fredo.
Yes.
And to not let him get too, give him, he's with him in the club. He's kind of, he could have gone back to his hotel room, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But the revelation in that moment, feeling that, you're feeling the bottom fall out
Yes.
of the situation.
Yes.
That's hard, man. Like, so I read somewhere last night. It was a terrible film, whatever the film was. It's still hard. It's hard to make a movie, even a bad one.
Yes.
And this is a great one.
Yes. Yes. And yes. That's why I never want to dump too hard on a film, even if it sucks really bad, because of how hard it is to even finish it.
Yeah. An edit is almost like a recount in an election. Because you can think, we didn't get that scene.
Yeah.
And then you find all this, footage you forgot you filmed. Oh, we have this angle. Oh, we have... Oh, but we could just cut it in a certain way and put this music over it that kind of, now we're in the lead again,
Yes. We're gonna get...
You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're gonna get out of this.
It's like, wow, I thought this was going in the fucking toilet, and it's not. It's one of the greatest scenes of all time. No, I don't think...
You have to count the absentee ballots.
You have to. You
don't know if the movie sucks yet. You don't know if your life is over yet.
You got to go to the board of editing. You have to get a good editor who knows how to read the law. Who knows how to go into the hard drive. Who knows how to. I don't know.
But were you ever were you ever shooting a scene where it was staged completely wrong?
I suppose it's happened a lot, and I might have not had any more of a clue than the director.
Yeah.
And
because of how piecemeal everything is shot, you're not thinking like this is not going to work.
This part of me that functions in a way is like especially when you're working with independent films, sometimes it's the filmmaker's first film, and you want to cut them some slack,
Yeah.
Or give them room to make not just mistakes, but to succeed as well.
Yes.
And I don't often get through a scene feeling like I was, being held hostage by a lack of understanding of the scene. Or like, we're actually gonna shoot this? That's it? That's all we're gonna do is like have no conversation about it, or just read it once, or we're not even gonna run the lines? We're not gonna talk about it? The frustration will come out when the camera's rolling.
Right.
And it'll, it's like a carpenter's level, it'll for me, I'm always gonna be like, do you see the level? It's not, the scene is not level. If that's how you want it, okay.
On Halloween, I wanted to watch a horror movie. I was alone. And I put on Exorcist III. I did not know you were in that, man.
Oh, for Halloween, yeah.
Yeah. Exorcist Part III, William Peter Blatty.
Director.
You were a very young man. It's like 1990.
It's 1990. It's
1990?
filmed in 1989 in the summer. It was very hot in Georgetown.
They really went back to Georgetown.
Took the train down, the Biden train. Isn't that the train that he
Biden
takes?
train, yes.
The the
Acela, whatever.
Excella, yeah, or whatever it is. Down to DC or Philly, and I stayed in a hotel in Georgetown. Man, the trees were so lush. It was right near the campus. All these locations from the original film.
Yeah.
All you had to do was walk out the door, and I found like the steps where, Father Karras falls down the steps at the end.
Yeah.
I walked up and down those steps, and
So you'd already seen The Exorcist as a young man.
Oh, and I had been deeply, deeply affected by it.
Yeah.
In a molecular way. It really influenced. I became an altar boy after seeing The Exorcist, because I wanted.
Because it was like heroes. They were like heroes. So yeah,
I wanted
that makes sense.
protection.
Yeah.
I believed, in the content of the films. It's really compelling. That's not just because I was young. I mean, young people will watch that movie today. Kids who go in film school and say it's so fake. It's this. And it's like I'm not even talking. My cousin's gonna kill me. She's like, why are you talking? Talking, it's talking. You're in New York. It's not talking. I don't even think that's the Boston accent. I was listening to a Boston tape to get into the Ray Donovan thing. It's not Boston. It's not Chicago. I don't know. I finally realized what these kids remind me of. They remind me of the scene of The Exorcist, where Ellen Burstyn's walking down the street in the beginning of the movie, and these kids are running by in their Halloween costumes.
Yes.
And she's coming home from work because she's just been shooting a movie.
Yes.
But
do you remember William Peter Blatty? I mean, like this guy. So he was the writer of Exorcist. Here he is directing this movie.
Yeah.
I think he was part of the second one.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't?
Yeah, he was a little, kind of pretend offended, or maybe real offended a bit when I brought that up.
Oh yeah.
I asked him, like, did you write the second one, or he goes, you just lost all your lines in the movie. He got up and he started walking away, and I was like, what? And
I thought it was Friedkin that hated the second one, and Blatty that loved it. I thought Blatty wanted to correct what Friedkin did on the first one. Am I wrong?
No, Blatty disowns the
So
heretic.
They both disown it then. Friedkin hates it too.
Oh.
freaking hates it. So this was his way of, because the third one is considered now to be a classic horror movie that people love.
The third one.
The third one that you were in, yeah. George C. Scott.
There's a scene that's totally frightening in it.
Yeah.
You know, the way they join it to the first film. I mean, I was a fan. The Exorcist III is based on a book called Legion.
Right.
That's the true sequel to the original Exorcist. The Exorcist III is the real Exorcist II.
Right. Right.
And I was really into the book Legion, you know, long before it was made into a film. I had an attachment to the character of Father Karras. You know.
Do you remember getting that role? Do you remember wanting to be in the loop to get that because you loved it? Is that what was going on?
No, it just came. You know, the appointment came through my agent at the time.
Yep.
This would be great for the show, you know.
Onur Tukel writes to you and says, I got a part for you. Let's do it. And it just happens to be in the middle of the fucking pandemic.
Yeah.
And were you just itching to do something, or were you like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Why are you gonna do this right now?
Well, I wanted to see who else was going to be involved.
Yeah.
And there was an actor who Onur wanted to go to, and I wanted to see what that person was going to do. And they said they loved the script, but that they needed to be careful because they had, elderly relatives, it was, they themselves were not spring chickens.
Right.
And when that opportunity, or when that casting idea went away, I thought that person would know, in my view, whether this was okay to do or not. This person had some seniority in my mind. You know?
I see.
And I thought that if their decision would be to pass for reasons having to do with COVID and, us, the industry really not knowing how to approach the situation yet.
Yeah.
Maybe I should be cautious.
Yeah.
And I ultimately did not feel that way. I was more determined, in fact, to be part of it. And I was waiting to see if that person was going to be the engine.
I know.
And I was like, I'm the engine.
Yes. Yes.
And
well, that seems like an important moment. I mean,
it's not. I own as the engine. I was the advocate.
Yeah.
I wanted to advocate for this, not just the project, but for the craft, the medium,
yes.
the job.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
schools had closed, film, I was thinking of, film students,
Yeah.
such as my daughter. And I suppose I wanted to set it an example. this is what you do if you're an artist
Yes.
in a pandemic. You
As safely as possible.
you know,
Proceed.
because it's you don't want to not do your make your movie. All this kid, you know, all the people who don't get to make their movies,
Yes.
Whose dream it is to make movies. I wanted to make this movie just to carry the flag, so that someone can say what he's doing. You know,
Yes.
and or they're doing it. They're making a movie,
Yeah.
and the thing is, it's a movie I'm happy to talk about. It's impossible to separate the movie from. I love that. It's full-throated. That's the only way to be. And I'll tell you, when I am not full-throated
Yes.
in my work, it's deeply, I feel deeply ashamed, you know, afterward. And I worry about it forever, you know. And there were times in Onur's movie where I wanted to reach, you know, I don't know, I thought, you know, I wanted to, there was a moment that I aspired to bring, you know, a degree of drama to. I wanted to dramatize the character's point of view in a way that was believable. That's all, you know,
Yeah.
that's all we're talking about here.
Yes.
That's all acting is. I mean, it's kind of like it's an Arthur Miller quote I just saw. He said that all play, something like, I'm paraphrasing, all structures of all plays or something is about the birds coming home to roost. That's the structure of every play, drama, whatever. So I feel like I want to have that moment of roosting,
Yes.
and I don't want to miss the opportunity to do that and to give that to the movie. And I think I did. You know, the moment I'm talking about, and I hope you'll see it. I hope everyone will see it. It had to do with the 7 o'clock, ritual.
Yes.
And
Banging of pots.
Banging the pots, bang.
Clapping.
And whether or not that was, you know, some ludicrous thing or
Whether it made a difference.
yeah. And Max Casella plays like an old friend, and we haven't seen each other in a long time,
No.
and he's, you know, we're on kind of opposite sides of that debate, and I have to give like a full-throated defense of the ritual.
Yeah.
And you know, I felt like I was speaking for my wife, to be honest, because she would give a full-throated cheer every night at 7 o'clock for as long as people were doing it, and I didn't really do that myself until Onur gave me the chance to do it.
When it counted
in
on
the
film.
movie, which was fake.
Yeah, right.
But people were still doing it at the time. I've seen the movie. I've seen the cut of it, and it feels very timely. And anyway, after we did the scene a few times, I did a take that afterward Max said, that was a strong take. Then he went to get a coffee or something. I mean, he just... I can't tell you how much that meant to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a great actor, you know?
Yes.
And, you know, sometimes I think of actors as like, you know, I don't know, ball players, you know? And, you know, some people just never fucking fail, you know? They never bobble, you know?
Yeah.
The ball never gets by them, you know?
Yeah.
Max is like that. He's like an infielder, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know, he runs a tight ship, you know? With him, you know, he expects a lot from himself, right? And to work with somebody like that, it's infectious.
Yeah. Yes.
And I wanted to, because I miss the ball all the time. I'm the worst one on the team.
But
You know, I'm out there like, I got it. I don't got it.
on your Instagram, you posted a number of photographs of stills of yourself in movies. And you wrote, perhaps an acting career is a way of fulfilling multiple destinies. Instead of acting, I might have become one of these characters: a video store clerk, pot dealer, cameraman, musician, priest, grifter. COVID may yet drive me into another line of work. I got scared when I read that, Kevin. What are you talking about?
Well, everybody wonders what they're going to do if they can't act, or if they can't do any job. You got to get a new job. You know, if the restaurant you work at closes down because they couldn't figure out the outdoor dining stuff, and but I was just, it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek.
Good.
You know, I thought, well, I could do what one of my characters does, you know?
Right.
You know, I'll probably will. Yeah, I'll end up being like a dealer or something, or well, I did want to be a priest after I saw The Exorcist. Like, well, I told you I became an altar boy.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the priesthood, but you know, only because I had read that Scorsese had considered being a priest.
Right.
And I think I associated the church with the theater, and the mass with, you know, the ceremony with the, you know, performance. And, you know,
Yes.
Jim Morrison, is everybody in? The ceremony's about to begin. You know, and Jimi Hendrix saying, you know, I want everybody to forget where they came from and just be here in our little electric church. Mm-hmm. And I guess the communal aspect of the job, just talking to people, connecting,
Yes.
wanting to connect, and wanting to be the facilitator of other people connecting to something. I
That's
know
not far from acting.
it's not. It's you know, there's a priest who officiated my mother's memorial service because she didn't have a funeral, didn't want one. He knew her, and he came up with a beautiful words and sentiments and like words, you know, to assign to that moment, you know, because there was only one viewing, and the time came, you know, so it was like, you know, one in the afternoon and then one in the evening, and at the end of either one of them or both of them, the father he said these words about my mother that were so perfect and edifying. He said, let her good works go before her, and let her rest from her labors. And her good works included this very thing of connecting to people and being someone who facilitated connection. That's why I think people want to be actors, you know. They want to be part of something, and, you know, maybe they also want to be instrumental in creating a collective event or something that everyone can get something out of, you know,
Yeah.
like a concert
Yeah.
or something, you know, or, you know, a mass, for instance, you know. The
Yes.
same priest I saw him recently, he told me that he's it's all online now, you know.
Yeah.
It's like he reaches more people on the internet than he did in person. They still can't have, you know,
Yeah.
mass. So anyway,
It just hit me just the other day. Like, I was sitting there and I was like, there used to be people downtown putting on plays every night. We live in this town. Every night, a lot of people were getting together, putting on plays that I never saw. It just hit me. Now there's none. There's none now. Like, I didn't go to see them because I don't have the money. Sometimes I'd go, though, and I'd be disappointed and be really picky and be an asshole kind of about it.
yeah.
Being like, I don't want to go see that again. Oh, that's probably going to be like that one. Something. It just hit me like, it's gone. I mean, yeah, it's going to come back. I'm going to be like running back, though, there, I think. And say, I'm sorry. I neglected you. Like, do you have that feeling?
I think that there will be a moment, there has to be, where someone, you know, some group of people comes out, takes a bow, and says, we thought we would never do this again. We just want to acknowledge this moment. We're back.
Yeah.
You know, I see that happening. People want that to happen.
Yes.
And that's going to be a thing. That's going to be a thing of people rediscovering what it means to be present in that way. And, you know, as a performer and as an audience, it's coming. And I mean, you don't arrive at a moment like that without optimism. And yet we're going into this dark winter.
Yes.
Where there is still this ominous messaging that will have you in your, you know, in your weaker moments thinking, it's not going to happen again. It's not coming back. This used to happen. I live in New York City. There's a show on every night somewhere. Somebody is performing. That's not happening now. It hasn't been happening for, I don't know when the last time that's happened.
I don't think it's ever happened
Like
this, where things haven't been going on, like ever. Since the beginning of...
Right, there's always been like
place.
a vaudeville show going on.
Yeah.
Someone, coming down the street in a wagon, doing
coming into town.
coming into town. It's not. I think it'll come back only, mainly because it's the comeback as an idea is just so irresistible.
Yes. The tear is flowing. The standing ovation will not be for the performance. It'll be for the idea that we're back.
Can you think about it? The shows that never even made it to opening night.
I know.
Those shows. I can't think of a
Tracy Let's Play. I was talking to him, and then he was supposed to go on with the minutes. They didn't even get to rehearsal on it, or they were rehearsing. That was one. But it's going to happen, right, Kevin?
It must. The show must go on.
Kevin Corrigan, thank you so much, man. This has become a tradition. I appreciate you, man.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of IFP, the Independent Filmmaker Project. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.